Released at the end of 2021, Endwalker is the fourth expansion of the popular MMORPG Final Fantasy XIV. Its main plot ties in and concludes the overarching story that began in A Realm Reborn. For players who have gone through a main story quest spanning hundreds of hours as the renowned Warrior of Light, this is quite a journey. A tale of heroism and mundanities, hardships and light-hearted breaks. A long song of battles against fiery fiends and tentacled spectacles, jeering jackanapes and geometrical shapes, meteorological creatures and metallurgical teachers, banter-swinging oddities and anthem-singing plushies. Gods and monsters faced off in an epic saga spanning many landscapes and cultures. It all takes a toll on even the sturdiest hero. A growing weariness lurks as the themes of the story grow heavier, preparing the stage for the final chapter of the Hydaelyn story and its stark tonal shift. Endwalker is not just full of melancholy, and it does not just tell us about individual examples of depressive disorders. It is, in its entirety, an allegory of the journey through depression. In the events known as the Final Days, a wave of despair sweeps across the world, the hopelessness of people turning them into monstrous creatures that kill mindlessly. This unbearable despair spreads like a plague, a contagion that nothing seems to be able to stop or even slow down. While there is an instigator to this event, once the final days have started, there is no villain to fight, no enemy to defeat here. This absence of a clear antagonist reinforces the powerlessness our Warrior of Light and their allies feel in this situation. There is no end in sight, no solution. Despair is all we have. This overwhelming surge of negative feelings comes from a being known as Meteion, whom we'll get to meet in her earlier days by traveling to the past. Meteion was created as a beacon of emotions. Like the flower of Elpis, whose color changes to match the emotions in its vicinity, empathy is her essence, and she absorbs and echoes the feelings around her. She and her many sisters were created for the purpose of exploring space and finding other life forms out there. But all Meteion's siblings found in the cold vastness of outer space were dying worlds. They found people who had waged war for so long and suffered so much, they welcomed death as a relief. They found an entire civilization that came up with a way to live forever, only to meet with anguish in the innumerable hours of their infinite existence. Everywhere, Meteion's sisters witnessed suffering, and this pain distorted their feelings, turning them into the Endsinger, a manifestation of despair, radiating sorrow all throughout the universe.
Even now their souls cry out for oblivion. And to this song of anguish, I lend my voice! We lend our voice!
We will make our nest at the edge of the universe. And there in the dark of dead worlds, hoard sorrow and suffering. There we will sing, our chorus ever louder and ever clearer, that our song may reach even this ether-shrouded star.
Is life worth living? It's a valid question many people have pondered at some point. It could have been met with an easy yes and brushed aside, but instead, this story takes this interrogation with the gravitas it deserves and really makes us think about it before answering. Everywhere we look, we are faced with pain, fear, and misery, some of which is directly tied to the long ordeal the Warrior of Light themselves went through. Under the assault of the Endsinger's Song of Oblivion, one by one, all eventually lose their will to live and give up.
I told you. Resignation and acceptance reign in this place. The rejection of life by those who came to curse it. Those whose dreams were unfulfilled. Whose prayers were unheard. Whose labors were unrewarded. Hope cannot deliver you unto hopelessness. Our refuge is beyond you. Always has it been. Such is the nature of this place.
Cognitive distortion is why depression is so hard to recognize when we are struck by it. Thought processes are twisted by this affliction, leading us to conclusions that become harmful. The Endsinger is that looming threat, an unknowable hidden influence that can only be countered if it's identified first. This is how the plot eventually unfolds. First, we identify Meteion as the source of despair, which takes some time. Then we seek help, everywhere we can. And finally, at the edge of the universe, after walking a long and painful road that can only be trodden alone, with help but by ourselves, we meet Meteion again. And here, we do the only thing that can turn the tide. We acknowledge Meteion and her pain. We show her bright, beautiful Elpis flowers filled with hope. We remind her that she is not alone, and we forgive her. Okay, there's also a big symbolic boss fight because that's what we do. The source of the distortions is identified and recognized, and the willingness to find a better outcome leads to a renewal. A light in the dark that spreads in the same way despair used to. Endwalker is the final act in a long-lasting saga, and this healing process paves the way for a new story, one that begins on lighter tones and smaller stakes, the calm after the storm. This long tale that began with a realm reborn is a story of compassion and understanding, where the other can only be an enemy until we learn about who they are and the dreams and losses they carry with them. With so many foes turned friends and so many burdens shared, it is an inspiration, both in and out of the game, to always lean on the side of empathy and goodwill. This is the light that turns the flowers of Elpis bright white and rises through the night, carrying our song cradled fast within our arms, that its chorus might ring for all.
Like, share, subscribe.